What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Smash JT. The Nintendo Direct that was scheduled for mid-February 2024 has been canceled, or postponed, or whatever excuse you want to insert right now, but it's not happening when many people, including myself, thought it was going to be happening. And now we have a tweet from Jeff Grubb backing up the reasoning being because Xbox is having an update, and because of that, Nintendo didn't want to step on their toes? Hit that subscribe, give me a like, and check out SmashJT.com for my full article breaking down this interesting situation regarding the Nintendo Direct dynamics and why it's not happening. The gaming industry is a complex business where the actions of one player can create ripple effects affecting others. And a recent tweet by Jeff Grubb, the well-known figure and somewhat of an insider in the gaming community, sparked discussions about how the industry events are strategically timed. According to Jeff Grubb and many other people, like I said, I was in this camp as well, a Nintendo Direct was definitely going to be happening this week. And then Phil Spencer came forward and said, hey, Xbox is having a big update on the official Xbox podcast this week. And I'm going to talk about some of the big moves that Microsoft has been deciding to take behind the scenes when it comes to the Xbox. And because of that, Nintendo backed away. They want Microsoft to have the spotlight this week. They didn't want Microsoft to take attention away from the Nintendo Direct. So in a way, it does kind of make sense for Nintendo to say, all right, Microsoft, you want to do this huge thing, this whole reveal of what Microsoft is doing and how they're still somehow making physical games even though they're not, or how they're going to be making a portable system that's heavily rumored to be by the Surface team, and how they might be going multi-platform, and all these other things Microsoft's doing. It's going to make a huge splash in the video game industry. And because of that, Nintendo was like, yeah, no, we're good. We know that the attention is going to be centered on Microsoft this week, and trying to compete against that might ultimately do a disservice to the attention that the Nintendo Direct would otherwise be receiving. In his tweet, Jeff Grubb said, I know no one wants to hear this, but just like when the Queen died, this is real. I heard earlier this week that they were discussing moving the Direct because of the Xbox business update. I've never known the date for sure. I've only ever heard the middle of Feb, which is a big deal. It's almost like the Nintendo Direct that was supposedly planned to come out in the middle of February this week that got pushed was because Microsoft had the spotlight. And you pair that with everything else that's happening with Nintendo, how they have the Mario vs. Donkey Kong game coming out and they want the attention to go on that. There was a lot of things coming out right now that made more sense for Nintendo to push this Direct to another time. And I gotta be honest with you guys, I get it. Nintendo Directs are just a marketing event to generate buzz for games, and I know a lot of people make a bigger deal out of them than they should, but this time felt different for a number of reasons. One, it felt like Nintendo was going to be finally admitting some sort of behind-the-scenes partnership coming forward to make it publicly available, that they'd be having games published on Nintendo Switch from Microsoft, beyond Minecraft, but having full-on AAA title support from Microsoft Studios. And I thought that this Nintendo Direct this week might be unveiling that, and it looks like that's not what's happening. And while Microsoft still might be going third-party, clearly all indications point to that, it does kind of reel the excitement back a little bit and make you realize, okay, Nintendo is always going to be about Nintendo. That's who they care about at the end of the day, and they put Nintendo first at all turns. It's like why Nintendo doesn't put Mario and Zelda on other platforms anymore moving forward, because they feel intrinsically that their business model is superior to other video game manufacturers, and they want their IPs on Nintendo products. I'd be lying if I didn't say that a part of me is disheartened because I was hoping for this Nintendo Xbox partnership to finally be unveiled, and who knows, maybe they'll say something about it during the official Xbox podcast, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. At this point, it just kind of feels more generic and let down to what I thought was going to be a major shift in the dynamic of the video game industry announced this week. It might still be happening, just in a much smaller, lower tone than what it initially seemed to be headed towards on the surface. I know there's going to be a lot of people reading Jeff Grubb's tweet and looking at it like he's making excuses. He's not really an insider. He doesn't know anything more than anyone else does, and maybe that's true. Actually, it could quite possibly be true. Just knowing the information out there and reading the tea leaves, anyone could have gotten to the conclusion that Jeff Grubb did. In fact, that was the same conclusion I was getting to, and I don't really have an inside source. It was just all the available information out there and the leaks that were coming from the Microsoft side of things and the Nintendo Direct that's typically planned around this time of year. Everything made sense for Nintendo to be doing something. And when Xbox announced that they were doing something, it just obviously made sense to say, okay, the stars are aligning. They're going to work together here. And what's transpired right now tells us everything but. I saw Super Metal Dave 64 on Twitter say, whenever a direct doesn't happen the way insiders say, there is always an excuse as to why. Because of Xbox plans. Yeah. Or they'll say Nintendo chose to do a Twitter direct as an easy out if they're wrong. A very easy game to play. It's also very predictable and boring. And honestly, not wrong. I can't disagree with that take. It's kind of infuriatingly frustrating, but also part of the fun as to why we do this stuff is to get involved with it, get entertained by it, have some sort of stake in it, and have fun with it. Because at the end of the day, it's video games, and we all play them to escape reality. I think the biggest disheartening thing about all of this is because Nintendo seemingly is not doing a direct this week, it kind of mitigates all the partnership discussion that a lot of people, including myself, had been planning on and assuming that Nintendo was going to be finally unveiling that information. And clearly, that's not what's happening here. If anything, this is just Microsoft going out on their own, getting attention by telling everyone, hey, all these big games that we've been making, we're thinking about putting them on other platforms. And even though Nintendo Direct has been trending on Twitter for the better part of the past week, it doesn't mean for sure that there was ever going to be a Nintendo Direct this week. It's just that the sources that Jeff Grubb was close to was saying that was what everything was pointing to. So maybe people could look at this as an excuse, as a get out of jail free for a wrong prediction. But looking at this realistically and the monumental move from Phil Spencer at Microsoft, where they don't typically do stuff like this to come out and talk about how they're going to be revolutionizing the entire video game industry, it would make sense in a situation like this for Nintendo to take a big step back, let Microsoft have the limelight for the moment, and then let the dust settle and move forward next week or 2 weeks from now with more information. Plus, it would give them time to space out advertising Mario vs. Donkey Kong as one of their swan songs. I know Princess Peach Showtime is going to be the swan song for the Nintendo Switch, but Nintendo Switch is not long for its career as a game console moving forward. So everything Nintendo's doing right now is pointing towards the Nintendo Switch 2. And anything they have for a reason to push that and kick that can down the road and have a direct later on would make more sense if this wasn't going to be a partner direct or something like that. But what I was thinking was this was going to be more of a working together with Microsoft Direct, and clearly that's not what's happening here. If anything, this is a lesson for everyone to learn. Once again, to stop trying to guess when a Nintendo Direct is going to be, because even when you're right, Nintendo could move the goalposts and be like, oh, everyone knows that it's going to be this week, so let's just move it anyway. That's such a Nintendo move. It's the same thing they've done with games in the past that have leaked. Like, full-on games have been created by Nintendo, and they've been like, yeah, you know, everyone knows we're doing this, so let's just not release it. And it never comes out. Like, that's how Nintendo operates. Almost like a FU to fans for letting secrets out there. So it's almost better to not try to guess when it comes to Nintendo. The one that comes to mind off the top of my head specifically right now is actually that Legend of Zelda series that was supposedly going to be going on Netflix, and it leaked out there that they already had put a bunch of stuff together and were organizing it, and it was all set to go, and Nintendo was like, yeah, no, now that people know about it, we're just not going to make it anymore, because that's how Nintendo works. Anyways, I'm going to leave the video there. Check out SmashJT.com for the full article. I will link it in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, you stay smashing. Smash